It's in the private chat.
Yep.
We're live, but we're letting it breathe,
My man.
baby. We are in these Rockies, so we need our O2, but we also got to get the entire MHH clan under one roof, and then we can officially get this party started. We got a couple of green. We need one more green check mark, and we're good. So welcome in everybody. It is the Huddle Up podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Blue Wire Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, we worked out our hormones on the gut reaction last night. Raw, off the cuff, is what it was. We call this the aftermath episode for a reason. One day removed with some time to kind of marinate on things, ruminate, ponder, philosophize. How are you feeling about Denver's Week 13 performance and what lies ahead, where this team goes from here in 2021?
What are you, a philosophizer? Such a great movie. I feel the exact same, honestly. I mean, even thinking more so back on it, the stats that I'm tweeting out and some of the things I've been reading for the output they got from their highly paid wide receivers, how bad Teddy Bridgewater played. Went back and rewatched the game. I counted at least 5 potential should-be interceptions for Teddy. He was downright dreadful. He actually had the lowest passer rating of his season, 62.2. Just had an article go up at MHH.com where Vic Fangio said after the game that Teddy did a lot of good things. What good things? How could you come away with that thinking Teddy did anything good? They squandered, Chad, a 100-yard rushing effort from Javonte Williams and a defense that held Mahomes to less than 200 yards and no passing touchdowns. And a lot of Teddy stats came in garbage time. So I'm still feeling the same. The sooner Black Monday rolls around, which is now 35 days less than and counting, the better off the Broncos will be. I cannot wait to get to that date because nothing will change in the Broncos organization until that date rolls around.
What's crazy is Vic Fangio essentially agreed with you on the point of talking about the Broncos passing game. I want to see if I can find this quote. If not, I'll paraphrase it. But what's it going to take to get your pass game going, basically, and how do you feel you did through the air last night? And he basically acknowledged that what did we pass for? Something like 250 yards. And most of that came on the last 2 possessions in garbage time. Not good enough. We're going to tweak a few things and figure it out. That's me paraphrasing what Vic said. And unfortunately, when you're now 13 weeks into the season, entering week 14, and you're in the third year of these type of platitudes where it's said, but nothing changes, no accountability, no feel for, hey, we recognize where things are actually off kilter, because that's the first step in fixing the problem, right? You got to recognize the problem. You got to know what it is so that you can then take the steps to rectify it. I don't feel confident, Zack, that Vic Fangio truly recognizes what problems this team has. So how in the Sam Hill could I have any faith that he and his staff have what it takes to fix it?
Because when you are the problem, you can't recognize the problem, or you're unwilling to recognize the problem. So Vic Fangio, just like John Elway would never, look in the mirror and admit that he failed. Vic Fangio failed the Broncos. He failed as a head coach. He is the biggest problem plaguing Denver right now, and he can't come out and say that. Otherwise, they might as well just quit and never coach again. So that's the whole issue with that. Everything is a subplot to the main plot that is Vic Fangio. Everything rots underneath him, the head of this fish, so to speak.
Very interesting. Everything rots under Vic Fangio. Travis Tarbox,
put it on a shirt, baby.
Maybe we'll need to do that. Travis says, evening priest and Broncos country, still sick of losing to the Chiefs, but always Denver Broncos for life. Hey, there's always the season finale. At least that one will be in Denver. And you know what? By that point, Zack, the Chiefs could be resting starters. So you never know. We're used to the Broncos playing Raiders in season finales. Most of the time, those games are meaningless, at least post-Super Bowl 50 for both teams. This time, though, who knows? Maybe the Broncos will actually snap the streak because they're playing Chief backups in Week 17. Dave, appreciate you, buddy. He says, I'm over Vic, Pat, Tom, and Teddy. Yeah, dude, it's we're in, I guess I wouldn't say uncharted territory, but the most frustrating aspect of this, Zack, isn't just the fact that you lost, isn't just the fact that it's 12th straight loss. It's that, and this is kind of the vibe I got listening to Vic today, was his answers coming off as canned and like exacerbated. Exasperated. There we go. I got it. Like he just doesn't know, dude. What? Exasperated. Yeah, that's right. Scott's shaking his head. All right, guys, correct me. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like he's just like hands up, He's like, I don't know what else to tell you, so I'm just gonna feed you these one-liners, Zach.
That's that's all he's been, win or loss, good or bad. That's Fangio. He's really just not cut out for the job, and he demonstrates that every day. But to what you said about beating the Chiefs in the finale, how meaningless that would be just for everything. I mean, talk about a moral victory. We're going to miss the playoffs again, another losing downward season. The Chiefs are going on to the playoffs, but we're going to beat them in a meaningless game. And it would be peak Vic Fangio as you look up exasperated, Chad.
For my own sanity.
It'd be peak Vic Fangio to crater the Broncos draft slotting in the final game just for one meaningless, ego-driven victory. Again, the sooner Black Monday rolls around, 35 days, the better off.
Cody Dub, what's going on, big dog? Appreciate you. And especially how consistent you've been lately. He says, the defense looking damn good and offense was crap. That's being kind. Yes, it is. Although I'll say this. I can't really say the offense was crap when you had a historic performance from Javonte Williams. But the passing offense, no rhythm, no ability to close in key moments. And by that, I mean third down and the red zone. This is what continues to haunt the Broncos. And then we'll grab Michaela right now, the Duchess from the top rope. What's up, my friend? Thank you so much for that very generous super chat. Keeping the lights on here at MHH Central. She says it's time to take out the trash. The trash trucks are coming. LOL. That they are, Zach.
Can't wait. I mean, the sooner they're hauled out of Dove Valley, the better. And I just, I hate to keep bemoaning that point and rooting for people to lose their jobs, but it's a results-based business, and I think Vic Fangio's had long enough now to show what he is or isn't at this level, and what he isn't is an NFL head coach. You can argue that he's a great defensive coordinator. I would say good defensive coordinator, but not an NFL head coach, certainly not in Denver.
Love you, Michaela. By the way, we never got that selfie with the jersey. We need that for Instagram. Let's go. Dennis Woods, a legendary member of our community, been with us since we began, and probably before, since we began these live stream pods back in, when was that? Zach, was it 2020? No, it was 2019. No, it was 2020.
I think it was 2020.
It was.
No, during the pandemic. No, it was before
it was
that.
2019. Yeah. It was Vic's maiden season. Yeah. Anyway, Dennis, you're a legend up there in Michigan. See, I remember these things. I know what's up. I care about my community. I care about my fans and this audience. He says Vic should go, playoffs or not. Here's the thing about that. If he makes the playoffs, let's just say like through some dastardly deed of football, I don't know, what would you call it? We'll just say numbers, like weird outliers. The Broncos managed to qualify. All right, like maybe they back it. Look at the 11 Broncos as an example, the Tim Tebow season, right? They get out in front in the AFC West and then lose their last 3 games and still back into the playoffs winning that AFC West because of just the way the stars aligned. If that were to happen for these Denver Broncos, what chance do you think Vic would have of sticking around?
Honestly, at that point, I think George Paton would keep him around. I mean, he's the head coach that got the Broncos back to the postseason for the first time since Peyton Manning, and that's going to count for something, if only for morale and, a figurative banner you're going to hang around the team facility. I think he would come back under those circumstances, but I see some people on Twitter who think it would take a playoff win to cement Fangio as the head coach for 22. I think a playoff berth would do that, but I don't see the Broncos making the playoffs. Sorry.
Jetty Splash, appreciate you, my friend. Guys, there's lots more to get to. Before we jump back into the chat and grab you, Travis, we just got to say thank you to the presenting sponsor of tonight's live stream podcast, and that's MyBookie, because everybody is trying to cash in on the next best crypto. But if you want guaranteed ways to double your money, all you need to do, use promo code MHH at mybookie.ag, and it's simple. You sign up at MyBookie, use the promo code MHH, your first deposit immediately doubled all the way up to $1,000. That's a quick turnaround on your investment, right? With the NFL playoff race heating up and college bowl season just around the corner, guys, double your firepower at MyBookie to get in on the action on all the most important games of this season.
Yeah, Broncos country, listen up. Build your own props, create multi-game parlays, and take part in a host of MyBookie cash prize contests. This is the best time of the year to both watch and bet on sports because you know who the winners are by now. So don't miss out. Double your first deposit by using promo code MHH and keep your eyes peeled for more exclusive holiday promotions coming soon at mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Our sponsors have always been impressed by the fact that our audience understands that they support these shows, they support these podcasts when they support our sponsors. So, guys, if you're already out there getting after it on the betting market, or if you've thought about it, this is a great opportunity to do so. Use that code MHH at MyBookie, and it's another way to help support your football priest and all the shows, frankly, on our channel. All right, Travis, I saw Travis Weber there. What's up, big dog? He says, good evening. Broncos had better stats than KC, but turnovers and not scoring points doomed them. The positive is how our rookies are performing. Got to have a positive out of the negative. Go Broncos. Yeah, I'll tip my cap to Kareem Jackson today, who was asked, hey, you held Patrick Mahomes to one of his worst games as a pro. Is that a moral victory that you and your teammates can hang your hats on, at least as a defense? And he said, look, this is the league. There is no such thing as a moral victory. Malik Reed had a little bit different answer. He was a little bit more nuanced, not quite so absolute, Zach. But bottom line is, it was all for naught. You did enough defensively to keep this game winnable. If you just had gotten a little help from your quarterback, you got a Herculean effort from your rookie running back who literally put the entire offense on his shoulders. If you got a little bit more from your quarterback, a little bit more from your OC, a little bit more from your receivers. Like, I rarely find myself, Zach, having reason to criticize Courtland Sutton, but he didn't look like he was really wanting to be out there last night. Kind of short arming it, so to speak, here and there. Like, where's the juice, man? Where's the juice? Where's the hunger? And maybe it's because he's ice cold, because he's been iced out of the offense since Jerry Jeudy returned.
Yeah, but even Judy's not getting the balls thrown his way pretty much either, Chad. When your leading receiver is a running back, you have a problem in a game where the quarterback attempted 40 throws. And two players, Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton, combined for 3 catches for, I think, 24 yards. That's unacceptable. So, I thought there were some components of the Broncos offense beyond Pookie that look good. Noah Fant had a decent game. Albert O saw a few passes come his way. The run blocking was really good. The pass pro was, I would say pretty average. It wasn't the offense that was bad. I 100% agree with what you said earlier. It was the quarterback play. The quarterback lost the Broncos this game. The quarterback alone, not the defense, nobody else, the quarterback.
Guys, Cody, appreciate you, bro. He says the refs screwed us on the fumble. That's one thing Vic said today that I found myself agreeing with. And basically what he said was, had it been ruled a catch and fumble on the field, meaning that they just didn't blow the whistle, they let it unfold, not only would you have had a pick six return, but you would have, it probably would have stood as a called fumble if they would have just let the play unfold. Instead, because it was ruled as an incomplete, Zach, on the field, they stuck to it. But either way, it's one of those wham bam type of plays. Upon further review, I think it was a football move, tucking it away like that, but the refs disagreed.
Yeah, I mean, bang bang judgment call kind of play. I thought the refs got the call on the field wrong, and that's what kind of influenced the challenge. I thought it was a good challenge by Vic Fangio, but I'm not one to really play the blame officiating game. The Broncos lost because the Broncos lost this game. It wasn't the refs that lost the Broncos the game. So that's as far as I'll go with that.
Guys, here is our rankings. We are now 6 nights into the month of December. As you know, when this month is over, we are going to raffle off a Broncos jersey of the winner's choosing to one of these top 5 finishers on Super Chat. Now, the rankings as it stands, you got the Duchess at the very top, and she probably bolstered that by her contributions tonight. The DWI guys at 2, they won last month. He won, I should say, last month. Naj right there at 3. Corey H at 4. Casey Nickel at 5, tied basically with Corey. And then just a few of the names: Kayaka, Tom, Cody Dub. You're in there, big dog, in the running. So just an FYI, we didn't get a chance to show the rankings yesterday, and we'll show where we're at on Facebook here in just a few minutes. But Michaela jumping in again. Thank you, my friend. She says the definition of insanity is doing the same things and expecting different results. I think that was Einstein, right? Wasn't it Einstein that coined that definition of insanity?
I thought I read sometime that it's actually not the definition. There's a different definition of insanity. I think that's become like
It's
a
one of the definitions of
maybe.
insanity.
Regardless, though, it's insane for the Broncos to keep Vic Fangio and Pat Shermer and Tom McMahon around, and Teddy Bridgewater for that matter, longer than they need to. So the last 5 games, when you think about it, it's the last 5 games of those people, plaguing the Broncos.
Yeah, so Google says, according to Albert Einstein, his version of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So, Michaela, I think that is a definition of insanity. And you know what? The Broncos, they're flying over the cuckoo's nest one last time. And, you got another handful of games until you maybe get to clean house and start over and rid yourself of some of that madness, Zach.
You know what else is insane? How good the Patriots look. They're had the #1 seed right now. They're up. I think it's 8-0 on the Bills in a snowstorm. They're running away with the conference once again. And those who doubted Belichick after Brady left, I think they can eat some crow now because the guy, and Josh McDaniels too, for that matter, what they've done with Mac Jones, hell of a coaching staff they got there. Crazy.
I like this from Scott, from Dave Mustaine, he of the Megadeth and Metallica fame. If I know I'm going crazy, I must not be insane. If I know I'm going crazy. George says, do you have any favorite special teams coordinators, defense coordinators, OCs, let alone head coach? That's one of those series of decisions, in my opinion anyway, Zach, where it's not really a surface that you scratch till you know who the head coach is. And that head coach obviously is, in most cases, is going to kind of have his own tree that he wants to kind of, branch out, so to speak. But I'm more focused on who I like as head coach and then let the chips fall from there, make those calls, once we know who's in the running anyway for head coach post Fangio.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. And for those that think Vic Fangio can get fired as head coach or demoted but stick around as defensive coordinator, it ain't going to happen. There's no precedent for it. I don't think it's ever happened in NFL history, and it's not happening with Vic Fangio. I did see a stat, though, Chad, real quick about DCs. I know he's not going to be DC for the Broncos, but what the job that Wink Martindale is doing in Baltimore, they've lost so much talent on that defense. They just lost another player today to a season-ending injury, Marlon Humphrey, and they're like 3rd in the red zone, 8 against the run. It's just, there's some really good defensive minds around the NFL.
He's a guy that definitely, I think, he's pretty old, though, to get he's kind of like Vic, not as old as Vic, but he's up there. As far as becoming a head, I know we're talking coordinators here, but as far as becoming a head coach candidate, Broncos fans, I think, would have a hard time with that because they're still traumatized from the fact that he was a Josh McDaniels era guy. He went from, I want to say he was linebackers coach in year 1 under McDaniels when Mike Nolan was the defensive coordinator. And then when Mike Nolan was dismissed after the Broncos won their first 6 in 2009 and then just went into a tailspin, they fired Mike Nolan. I'm pretty sure Wink Martindale was promoted to defensive coordinator for 2010, if I'm not mistaken. Mike Reno, what's good, big dog? He says, I think a playoff win is required for Fangio to stay. Not a playoff berth, Zach, a playoff win. The look on Paton's face said it's hard to ride this horse to the end of the season, but he will gut it out and fix it next year.
I mean, not to sound narcissistic, Mike, but I think you're reading my Twitter because the look on George Paton's face said there's no way in hell Vic Fangio is surviving a playoff-less season, so sans playoff berth. Playoff victory, I think, would ensure that. Playoff berth might, but no way in hell is he coming back short of those 2 markers. Nor should he.
I'm trying to get the NFL.com website to reflect the current AFC playoff picture, but it doesn't want to. Maybe it's because there's still a game going tonight.
I think the football gods are telling us something then, Chad, if you can't pull it up.
DeAngelis, bro,
read the
thank
room.
you. Thank you. Yeah, no kidding. Maybe it's too soon, right? DeAngelis, thank you for the stars, my friend. Very generous of you. Love you. Much appreciated. Stone Carranza. That's a cool name. That's like the kind of name you'd read from like a 50s crime thriller where the detective is named Stone Carranza, and he's got a big cigar in
with
his
slacks
mouth.
up to here.
Yes. He says, hey, Chad and Zach, been watching for a while, but haven't had a chance to catch the pod live yet. Go Broncos. Hey, welcome to the Manger, Stone. Thank you for chipping in a few
Yeah.
dollars helps us out, helps keep the lights on. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter because we like to keep tabs and keep in touch with our superstars and our biggest supporters. Tag you after each show, things like that. So thank you, Stone.
Yeah, and if you have a question, feel free to put it in there and we'll get to it.
Dennis says, Priest, if we play well and earn a playoff spot, then okay. But if the Broncos don't play well and then back into the playoffs, then no, I'd still fire him, them. I think backing into the playoffs, kind of in the same complexion I said the way the 2011 season ended, with all the water that's under the bridge, I'm not sure Fangio keeps his job. I mean, after all, John's still at the top of this thing, Elway, right? He fired John Fox. Forget the whole mutual thing. John Elway was going to fire John Fox, and John Fox found a quick, easy landing place, and they decided to avoid the PR firestorm of firing a head coach that was winning and had just got you to the playoffs, 4 straight years to the playoffs, including a Super Bowl berth. The PR blowback, let's just say this was a mutual parting of ways. No. Do not get it twisted. John Fox was fired. All right. A winning football coach on the heels of a playoff season. John's still in the building, Zach.
Yeah, I know. It has happened before, but I don't think during a streak of this long without reaching the postseason, though. I mean, if he's the one to get the Broncos back, and despite everything they've been through this year, with the rotating talent, the injuries, Teddy, the play, all these different factors, if he backs into the playoffs and reaches the tournament, I don't see George Paton getting rid of him. Paton doesn't strike me as impulsive. And you have to be if you want to fire a coach right after he leads you back to the playoffs. But I think if Fangio is the one to do that, he'll give him one more year to see whether it was a fluke. If you can get him back, great. If not, he'll be fired then. But short of that, I think he's gone for sure.
Shoguki, thank you for that super chat. And you know what? Also, thank you for the 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
You're a ride or die member of our community, and we appreciate you, big dog. He says, it's over for Vic. Denver goes for... Zach, these
Matt
acronyms.
Corral, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett.
Hey, see, this is why I need Zach. When I need to interpret my teenagers' text code to each other, right, when they're texting their buddies or their friends, and I need to know what this means, screenshot, Zach, go. And he's like, bam, bam, bam.
I got you.
Then I pull their card, and I'm like, look, I know. I've got the Rosetta Stone here, all right? Don't step to me. I'm the old man. Either way, Shoguki, you demand. Again, thank you for that 5-star rating. And yeah, it's there are some intriguing quarterbacks in this class. None of them have the hype of even one of the quarterbacks probably from the first round this past draft, but there's still a lot of row left to hope.
I think the hype would get increased, though, if the Broncos were taking that quarterback, whoever it may be, to work under, let's say, Brian Daboll or Byron Leftwich or Kellen Moore or Greg Roman. I think there'd be a lot of energy and excitement and optimism back in Broncos country, as well it should be. I'll say it again, like I said last night. This quarterback class might not be the best. It might be good and not great, but that's what having great coaching does for a quarterback. It makes them from good to great or from mediocre to good. That's what the combination is so enticing when you think about bringing in a young, creative, forward-thinking offensive mind and pairing him with a dynamic quarterback, maybe a dual threat like Malik Willis or someone with a really high floor like Matt Corral. That's a lot more exciting than selling the fan base on Teddy Bridgewater and Pat Shurmur.
No doubt. Guys, real quick, a detour to a little bit of a somber note here, a tragic note, if I'm being honest. We found out over the weekend that a longtime member of the Mile High Huddle community, you guys know him as Duke Boynton, has passed away at a very young age with a house full of kids still that need providing for. And Troy, Eclipse Stormborn, I do appreciate you informing of that. You were the first to let me know. And then as soon as I opened my phone and started looking, I saw messages from other people letting me know about Duke. So it really does break my heart because I know what Duke had been going through. Duke was a member of the community that I would keep in touch with. We talk on the phone. And he had kind of had to pull away from the nightly chats, Zach, because of, unfortunately, some drama that had been going on. And he had to handle things because he's a stand-up guy. He's a man, and I'm not going to betray anything that I know, which is very little, about what transpired, how he passed. But suffice to say, it was sudden, unexpected, and very, very tragic. I've reached out to the family to see if there's anything we can do to help out. But yes, RIP to Duke. Seriously, got much love for Duke,
Yeah.
and high quality guy, very principled, cares a lot about his team, cares a lot about his family, cares a lot about his country. Had a lot of cool philosophical conversations with Duke, and I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss him. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, Troy. And I know as your friend, that's a big loss to you, and I'm sorry for your loss as well, bro.
I mean, yeah, that was really well said, Chad. When you texted me that, I was really taken back. I was shocked, in fact, that that it's happened so suddenly. And you mentioned that you just talked to him recently, and it's
2 weeks ago.
the fragility of life, and it's so crazy. And whatever we can do to help his family out, or anyone, family or friends of Duke, we want to do that. But appreciate you, Eclipse, as for bringing it to our attention. And it's just a horrible thing.
And when he did call me, he was calling me to tell me, hey, bro, I'm sorry I haven't been in the chat the last few months, drama going on, but forgive me. I'm going to be coming back soon. And I'm like, dude, forget it. Don't even worry about that. I'm listening after the fact. I'm listening to the downloads. I'm like, dude, don't even trip. You got to take care of business. Seriously, don't even mention it. I understand. How can I help? And so the plan was to be staying in touch and getting him back in the chat soon. And so I'm still very stunned by it.
Yeah.
Sudden passings like that are just hard to deal with. So thoughts and prayers up to the Boynton family. His girls are going to need it. And once and if I hear back from his family on anything we might be able to do as a community, I might be able to do, I will pass that on. But yeah, prayers up for Duke's family, and RIP to a legend.
So sad.
The fragility of life. Now, sorry guys, we had to honor him, and Troy, thank you for again bringing that up, not only to our attention but mentioning it in the chat.
Terrible.
Had to honor him. So let's get back to some footy ball. All right, segue real quick here. Miguel jumping in. Appreciate you, my friend. Says I'm still disgusted by that game last night. There wasn't very much to be excited about. I mean, you had Javante, you had Pat Surtain bringing home another pick. And guys, the Broncos have struggled traditionally since Patrick Mahomes became part of the equation to get turnovers on that cat. So to get to, I guess it was one, right? Or was it two? No, it was one. Just Pat Surtain. Just getting one. I'm like, holy cow, this is crazy. The Broncos just picked off Pat Surtain. Now, of course, it was a drop pass tipped up in the air. Surtain was in great position to haul it in, heads up play. So there's a little bit of luck involved, but that's the way turnovers go, Zach.
Right place, right time. And, good players put themselves in positions to make those plays happen. A lot of Ed Reed's picks were off deflections, or where he read the play properly and was in the right place at the right time. I'm not going to fault PS2 for making a pick. It was nice to see the Broncos turning him over. And it was nice to see Surtain recover from a really rough couple first series where he kind of, I don't want to say quit on the goal line, but he kind of pulled up. And the second series, he was beat for a first down. So for him to stay with plays and keep getting better and keep improving, his sky and his ceiling is just limitless.
By the way, here's the actual quote that I had paraphrased earlier from Vic talking about, again, this comes off to me as very just canned, forced, not really genuine in the sense, Zach, of, or the spirit of sincerely trying to get to the bottom of it. It's making excuses, saying things that he thinks media want to hear, that
I'm so
fans want to
surprised
hear.
to hear that. It's crazy.
What needs to happen, Vic, over the final 5 games to create more offensive success? Quote, we've got to figure out a way to score more points. We're in the bottom third of the league in that, and we got to do better scoring points, no doubt about it. We didn't have any rhythm last night in our passing game. That's an understatement. It says that we had 250 passing yards, I believe, but 34 of it came on the last play of the first half, and then a bunch came on the last 2 drives. We just never got into a good rhythm in the passing game last night. And then when asked, Zach, how the offense can establish that rhythm, that elusive rhythm, quote, I think we've just got to marry the run game a little bit more, call it on our terms, and not get into obvious situations. I don't think we did last night too many times until a couple of those penalties in a row we had there. We just have to have a better mix. Zach, being married to the run game. Now, I'm going off of what one person in the chat said, but if it's true, because I haven't charted this game, if it's true the Broncos ran 1 play action, what are you talking about, Vic, being married to a run game? We're talking utter divorce here, Zach.
It's an annulment in the running game. And didn't he just say we have to do it better and then said we did a pretty good job of it? He has no idea what he's talking about. He's talking on both sides of his mouth constantly, and the tune changes by the day. Because yesterday, Sunday, after the game, he mentioned, as I wrote earlier and talked about earlier, that Teddy did a lot of good things. And when he was asked about the interceptions, well, he said, well, one was a tip pass and the other one I didn't see. Once again, by the way, he didn't see an offensive play go down, even though he's the head coach. It sounds like he's being coached or prompted by the Broncos PR department. And that's why everything sounds disingenuous. That's why his tunes are constantly changing and contradicting themselves. He has no idea what he's doing at all.
Josh, and by the way, on that same point, you're so right, because he took great umbrage to someone in the media. I don't know who it was. It wasn't someone I recognized, or else I would have remembered and credited them. But he took great umbrage to the notion that the Broncos are a Jekyll and Hyde team, right? High highs followed immediately by low lows. And yet today he called their passing offense, and especially on third down and red zone, that they've been a roller coaster this year. Really high, like last week against the Chargers, 8 for 11 and 3 for 3. To what it was last night, which was just not even worth mentioning. It's like both sides of the mouth, words coming out.
I'm still waiting to hear what good things he talked about that Teddy did yesterday. Please, Vic, enlighten me.
Waiting. Josh, appreciate you. He says, I know we're not a playoff team, but record-wise, we are in the hunt. If you have a better chance with Locke and Shula, isn't it Paton's job to step in? Only if you believe only if you assume George Paton believes that they would give the Broncos a better chance. But even if you believe that, George Paton believes that, he might philosophically, Zach, be the type of GM where he doesn't meddle on game days. He doesn't meddle on starting lineups. That's the coach's purview. A lot of GMs are that way, especially new guys who, you're suddenly the boss in the building, and yet the guy that is directly under you that you're kind of partnered with, saddled with, however you want to. In Vic Fangio, he's been here longer than you. He's senior to you in terms of tenure and age and NFL experience too, for being frank. And so I would guess that Peyton's being quite hands-off on things like that.
That's the thing, though. We're learning of George Paton as a GM as he goes along in the process. I mean, even during the Elway years toward the end, I was still trying to pick up on Elway's MOs and how he was going about conducting business. And, you got a trend pattern with him, and we're going to get one from George Paton as we see in his second offseason. So we don't really know how he handles these certain things until we see it play out. But I agree with you. He is pretty hands-off. I don't think he's impulsive. He's not reactionary. He uses logic and not emotion to make his decisions. And I don't think right now, 6-6, the Broncos still in the hunt technically. It's the right time to fire the coach. You have 5 games left. Wait it out until then, and then clean house.
You got to keep in mind, too, reputation-wise, John Elway began to kind of earn that of a meddler. And for prospective head coaching candidates, that's very that's a turnoff, right? I don't have this dude, strong-arming me, micromanaging me. Nah, I'm going to take the other interview. So it's a fine line. I think there are times, though, where rubber meets the road, and if you see a solution that you truly believe is better than what the coaches see, you got to at least mention it, right? You got to at least bring it up in your team meetings. And I'm sure if George sees those solutions, he's probably seen them. David says, did you guys see the Jerry Jeudy post, a video on Instagram? No. You'll have to tell us what it is. We can look into it after the stream, but let us know. Give us a hint, big dog.
Was his conditioning good at least?
Yeah. Are we talking like NFL level conditioning or SEC level? Cody Dub, thank you, buddy. Manning could have come out of retirement and won the game last night. That's how bad Teddy played. That's how bad Teddy played, Zach. And it's also how good the defense managed to limit Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, seriously, let me just run some numbers by you guys. And if I were to have told you going into this game, if I said, hey, my crystal ball kicked out these numbers, did the Broncos win or lose? You would have probably assumed the Broncos won the game. So Pat Surtain barely at 50% completion, 184 yards, 1 pick, 57 rating. But look at the studs that notoriously crushed the Broncos. Travis Kelce, only 3 receptions on 8 targets for 27 yards. Tyreek Hill, 5 targets. They only allowed 2 receptions for 22. Now, Tyreek had a couple of drops, but nevertheless, Zach, if I were to say, hey, Broncos country, this defense limits Pat Mahomes to 184 through the air, Kelsey to 27, and Hill to 22. How many Broncos fans are saying, oh, we're winning this game?
A lot. And, if you watch Travis Kelce, the catches he made, he was wrapped up immediately by Kenny Young. There was no yak for Travis Kelce, so I think Young did a really good job in the first, installment of the Kelce versus Broncos edition for this season. The defense did play well enough to win. The running game played well enough to win. The offensive line, for the most part, played well enough to win, but the coaching didn't and the quarterback didn't. Same old story, same old Broncos.
Yes, indeed. Okay, we're at 35 minutes. We're doing pretty good. Yvonne, what's going on? He says, changes can be expected once we're out of the playoffs or once we have a losing season. Right. Right? Yeah, so typically, once the math eliminates a team, and especially with the newer rules where you can start interviewing before the season ends, it wouldn't surprise me to see the Broncos make a move only because, Zach, George Paton is now running things. John Elway, he's a guy that kind of, I think, resists that and waits till the last second and then pulls the plug, even if he knows he's going to pull the plug like he does it on Black Monday. But the Broncos, I think, have to get eliminated. And it's not going to take too many more losses for that to happen, Zach. I mean, there's only 5 games left. 2 more losses, 3 more losses, I guess, and you are sub 500, probably in this AFC, you're out. 2 more, though. You still have a chance to finish plus 500, but it's probably not going to be enough to keep you in the dance. But because they've kind of hovered around 500 and above slightly through the middle of the season, Zach, they're probably going to be mathematically alive until the last couple weeks, I'm guessing.
Riddle me this. They lose on their home field to 1-win Detroit. Do you keep Fangio around? Is there utility in doing so for the final 4 games after that? I don't think so. I think you got to pull the trigger at that point. I mean, that would be the lowest point of the Broncos since Peyton Manning, I feel like. So it could happen before then. I still think Peyton will ride it out for as long as the Broncos are mathematically alive. But Chad said that could end pretty quickly. I still think, though, there's going to be a massive change if or maybe when, as crazy as that sounds, they lose to the Lions next week. God.
DH3 with a good point here. Yeah, Bridgewater was supposed to feed the playmakers, remember? That's one of the ways the proponents of the Teddy decision back in August tried to sell their takes was, hey, look, Drew, he's hot, he's cold. You never know what – you can't really trust him to feed the guys that can really make a difference. He's too, half-cocked. Teddy Bridgewater has done a horrendous job of showing the presence of mind of knowing how to feed the guys that butter the bread. I'm talking Sutton. I'm talking Fant. Fant's a non-factor now. Fant is been worked out, and, he shares complicity in this, obviously, but Noah Fant is only a couple of years removed from being this team's first-round pick. He's an afterthought. He's not even like forward brain, front of brain focus of the offense. And we're talking about Noah Fant. How many offensive coordinators in this league would kill to have just that guy in their offense? And the Broncos, he's just being squandered. You could say the same for Cortland Sutton, the same for Timmy P, of late anyway. The only guys that have really been relatively consistent in Teddy attention is Jerry Jeudy and, oddly, Albert Okwuegbunam. Makes sense of it, I don't know.
By the way, did you hear how Al Michaels and Collinsworth butchered Alberto's? They didn't even try. It sounded like they were coughing or sneezing while they were saying it, Chad. But it's kind of hard to feed someone if you don't have a spoon. And Teddy doesn't have a spoon. He has no way to feed them. He squandered, as you mentioned, Noah Fant, a first-round pick. I think he's still squandering Jerry Jeudy. The Broncos' offense is first-round pick. Cortland Sutton, second-round pick. Hey, if KJ Hamler wasn't injured, they'd be squandering him too, a second-round pick. I never expected Teddy to get the playmakers the ball. That was my biggest fear, actually. That's why I wanted the Broncos to go with Drew Lock, because at least he has the arm to feed the playmakers. That's how you do it. You don't get them 3 combined catches for 24 yards in a pass-heavy game script. To your point about Fant, though, all he is now, Chad, is a 6th offensive lineman. Nothing more.
Here we have David Wilder, who says, what happens if somehow we lose to Detroit? And then, of course, giving some thoughts and prayers for Duke's family. Zach, if the Broncos inexplicably drop 1-2, they have 1 win, right? Lions have 1 victory this year.
Yep. Came yesterday.
We've said it before, but does Vic still have a job the next Monday, a week from today, if they lose to the Lions?
Well, if you lose to the Lions, you go 6-7. I think the common logic would indicate that they're going to fire Fangio on Black Monday anyway. They're giving it a chance until they can't justify that chance anymore. So what's the difference if you fire him 4 weeks early and get an early jump start on your next head coaching interview process? I don't know how you can come back from that. I mean, the Lions are dreadful. The Broncos backups should be able to beat the Lions starters, but if they don't on their home field, and if they lose that game, it'd be 3 of their last 4. You got to pull the trigger. You can't do it.
Mike Reno says the reason Fangio is gone is because he won't fire any of these coaches. So if Paton wants some of them replaced, Fangio's a must fire at that point. Meaning, so the reason Fangio's on his way out the door is because he's stubbornly holding on to these coaches that are, frankly, selling him short. I mean, Tom McMahon. The only guy Vic can really count on is his lieutenant, which is Ed Donatel. Pat Shurmur, man, what a disappointment this guy's been. And when the Broncos hired him, I was not very pleased at the firing of Rich Scangarello just because of how strong the team finished with Drew in 2019. But I was like, hey, you're getting Pat Surtain. I did it again. Shurmur. 2 years or so removed Zach from being the AP Assistant Coach of the Year. I'll take an optimistic posture on this, and let's hope. And then you get the pandemic year, and you're like, well, charge it to the pandemic. Turns out, guys, it wasn't the pandemic. Pat Shurmur is just not a good modern-day NFL offensive coordinator. Similar to his quarterback, Zach, takes perfect conditions, perfect personnel, perfect schedule to get any blood out of that rock.
I got my shock face going right now that a twice fired head coach from Cleveland and the Giants was worse than a disciple from Kyle Shanahan that went 4-1 with a rookie quarterback. Shocked. I never liked the Shurmur hire. I've hated it more and more by the week. I just laugh at people now that defend him. He's indefensible as far as I'm concerned. This is pretty funny, though. I was laughing at this. This was an accurate representation of what Al Michaels uttered last night.
Yeah.
Every single week, everyone is butchering his name. Every single announcer. It's become a weekly thing.
I get it because it is. I mean, we had our. It took us a couple months to really kind of get it down. We would just avoid it and say Albert O. It's not easy, but those television broadcasts and the color guys and the radio, they get the same game capsule that we do, and in that capsule, it lists the tough pronunciations. So take some time and the producers of those shows should be like, all right, let's see which are the weird ones for this team. All right, Al, Chris, make sure here, practice this one in the mirror a few times. Travis, besides his 1 penalty, it was great to see Garrett Bowles play lights out. I agree. I think he was really good, at least in pass pro. I don't know how great he was in the run game. I'm really interested to see what Eric Trickle's grades reveal or might reveal on that front, but he was good, man. And the Chiefs have a solid pass rushing rotation from Frank Clark to Ingram. Chris Jones is more interior, but still, it was good to see. And this is after almost not a month, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's see. His last game was Washington. So he missed the Dallas game, the Philly game, the bye last week. So, yeah, a month of inactivity to come back and play arguably like his most complete game of the season. Hats off to him.
I think Cushenberry played decently as well in the middle, getting some push for Javonte, blowing Chiefs off the ball. Not an easy assignment when you're blocking Chris Jones. But, Chad, can you spell Alberto? Albert Okwuegbunam.
Oh, yeah. You want me to do it?
I do. I still have to spell check it. So.
All right. Okwuegbunam. Bunam. Kaboom.
Nice. I'm impressed.
I only know that because I've written it so many times in articles that it's been ingrained in the old brain. Um,
The Cowboys have a player named Osi Odigizua. I cannot spell his name to save the life of me. I have to look it up every time. It's one of those things you
tough
can't
one.
memorize.
It's a tough one. So many vowels in that one, right? Um, Colby, aka Triple C, in the house. Who needs Triple A when you got Triple C? Appreciate the stars, my friend. Seriously, thank you, Colby. Okay, let me see here. We are at 45 minutes. Guys, while we got a
Yeah.
quick breather, Charlie gives me a good reminder to
Y'all
show
are.
you guys where we stand on this month's Facebook contest. We're trying to get 250,000 stars. And for those of you wondering, on Facebook, stars is similar to Super Chat on YouTube, where it's a way you can support the shows, the channel uh, live, all right, throwing out stars. And when we reach 250K, we're going to raffle off a Broncos jersey of the winner's choosing. The only people in the running for that raffle are the people who contributed to the goal. And as you can see here, we are 6 days in and 11% complete. We're a little bit behind the eight ball. All right. We need to kind of move things along if we want to be sure to hit the goal. Well, let's take a look at who's in the running right now. At the very top, might as well do the last 7 days because we're only 6 days in. Andrew Lampy, number one. The Aviator, Shane Daniels, two. Travis Weber, three. Andrew Baker, Lawrence Rivera, Yvonne, Pete, Doug, Miguel, and Mark round out the top 10. So shout out and much love to each and every one of you. Can't wait to see who wins that raffle because I know we're going to hit goal. And Charlie says, our defense was spectacular, but so was theirs. Man, the Chiefs really turned it around defensively the few weeks leading into their bye, and they just always get their dander up for the Broncos. It's like that bully mentality, that just supreme confidence. It's like a cat toying with the mouse in the corner, right? Like just utter and absolute confidence. And the Broncos offense just didn't have it in them to be that mouse that punched back. You know, they weren't going to be Mighty Mouse this time. They were going to go ahead and take the beating.
Do you think it's like get off my lawn, old man of me, to say they weren't spectacular? I mean, they played a really, really good game, but they had some holes as well. I mean, Edwards-Helaire kind of pushed the pile forward and got some first downs. They didn't get too many sacks on Patrick Mahomes. They didn't get much pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and I think a lot of missed opportunities for Mahomes as well. Drop passes, missed passes. It could have easily been a blowout. They played a really, really, really good game. I don't know about spectacular, but I do know the offense blew the game for the Broncos.
Travis Tarbox, appreciate you, says, you'd think an 8-year veteran quarterback would make better decisions. So many guys wide open, and Teddy throws a horrible pick to Judy while he's double covered. You know, that play, they get paid too. This is not to make excuses for Teddy because it was a bad throw, bad decision. He was baited into that throw, and he got taken. He got took, and unfortunately, they get paid too, Zach.
But wasn't the whole point of playing Teddy to not make those decisions, not make those throws? That's why you benched Drew Lock. I mean, the threat or the actuality of turnover-worthy plays. That's why you went with the safer, steady Teddy Bridgewater. But it wasn't even close. It was intended for Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy wasn't even out of his break yet. So it's just a really bad throw, but a worse decision by Teddy. I think he's regressing as a quarterback this season. That's the problem.
Stone jumping in over on Facebook too. Thank you, buddy. That's true ride or die support, and we really appreciate it. Guys, we're about out of time. We probably got to keep it a little bit tight tonight just because of some things I have cooking. Before we get out of here, Zach, I just want to take one last spin through the chat. And yeah, guys, thoughts and prayers to the family of Duke Boynton. They're going to need it. Again, he was the sole provider for his family, and he still had all three of his girls under his roof, a couple of grandbabies too. So they're going to need it. And I've reached out to them in hopes of being able to offer our help if they do wish to accept it, whether it's individually or if they end up getting a GoFundMe going or something. If they do that, we will be sure to push that out, make sure you guys know about it. Because Duke, you know, he was a big reason why our community caught fire the way it did early on when we started doing these live streams. And even if not for that, he was a good friend and a great Broncos fan and a good man
Yeah.
that we lost. So Lando, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. So with that, Zach, I know Shane Daniels is getting one last question, and then we'll dip on out of here. He says, if we took Josh Allen instead of Bradley Chubb in the 2018 draft, because Broncos had a chance, Broncos could have drafted Allen, Rosen, and Lamar. Took Chubb. Would he have developed into what he is today, Josh Allen, if it would have been the Broncos? My answer to that is a resounding no. But it's one of those things you never know.
I just think it's easier to find the coach than the quarterback, though. So as long as you had the quarterback in place and the foundation to work with, you could have found him his Brian Daboll, whoever. But hindsight is 2020, and the Broncos coaching back then, they didn't have it. I mean, they had was it Musgrave in 2018 at that point? I mean, who was the quarterback's coach?
Quarterback's coach was
It wasn't Knapp.
I think it was the Nap. No, it wasn't Napper. I think it was Napper, who
Was
also has recently passed. I'm not positive. I can double check on that, but I think it was Napper.
I don't know. I don't think Musgrave was the one to unlock Josh Allen. So I'm still with you on that, Shane, or what you're implicating there. If they would have taken him, he wouldn't have been the same Josh Allen that we've come to know. He would have looked a lot more like the Josh Allen the first 2 seasons until he got that good coaching.
Yeah, so Napper was gone after 16. He left with the Cougs. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but either way,
I got to Google that. It's bothering me now.
It was a lame duck regime. I don't think it would have made the difference that year. So VJ still
Mike
gets
Sullivan,
fired.
Chad.
Oh, that's right, Sully. That's right.
So unforgettable.
Yeah, and bizarre because at the time you had 2 Mike Sullivans in the organization because you had the cap czar. But guys, thank you for joining us tonight for the Aftermath podcast. We love each and every one of you. We got to dip out, but before we do, Zach's going to run down how to connect with us, and I'm going to pull up Facebook.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in with us for our, Aftermath episode of the Huddle Up podcast, reacting to the Broncos. I would say feckless Week 13 loss in prime time with first place on the line. Terrible loss for them. But until we see you guys next, which is Wednesday evening, 6 Mountain, 8 Eastern, follow us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod. Follow the main account at Mile High Huddle for all your Broncos news, rumors, analysis, film breakdowns, and so much more at Mile High Huddle. Follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. Follow our producer Scott Kennedy at Scout Kennedy on Twitter. And go to HuddleUpPod.com right now and get yourself a comfortable dad hat. I was almost going to drop a curse word there. Get yourself a trucker hat, get yourself a coffee mug, get yourself a hoodie, all right there, huddleuppod.com. And if you haven't, guys, go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. Hit that big blue button, become a supporter. 3 VIP shows at your fingertips, Kelberman's Corner, Broncos Book Club, and Trickle Zone each and every week. Also, facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. Like that page and follow that page. And if you haven't, guys, go to Apple Podcast and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win a hat, coffee cup, etc., each and every month. But if you can't do any of those things, totally understand that, totally get that. Do these 3 things, take a few seconds, subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. Helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
And guys, these premium VIP podcast shows that Zach's talking about, only our paying Facebook supporters currently are getting access to that. When we roll out our YouTube membership in January, that'll change. But for now, you got to be a Facebook supporter, and you could be in on Broncos Book Club. Right now, we are on book 2, Slow Getting Up by Nate Jackson. Phenomenal book. We just got started on that, and it will return again this week. So, yes, become a supporter. Easy to do. Top of the page, big blue button. But, guys, here's how we finished on Facebook. Yvonne at the top. Love seeing that. Thank you, Yvonne. Shane, number 2, Stone. Stone's throwing down on YouTube. Stone's throwing down on Facebook. Just phenomenal. Andrew Baker, Doug Raquel, DeAngelis Jones, David Wilder, Travis Tarbox, Lando, Don't Call Me Calrissian Lee, Mike Reno, George Fox. And when I say that, Lando, I hope you know it is truly out of admiration and slight, bitterness that I was not named Lando. I wish I was named Lando. That's no lie. George Fox, Travis Weber, Colby C. Collier, a.k.a. Triple C, Charlie Young, Miguel, Dave Glassman. Much love and respect to each and every one of you. And as Zach said, we're off tomorrow. So enjoy Broncos for breakfast. Enjoy building the Broncos, and we'll see you Wednesday night.
Take care, guys. And as always, go Broncos.